5 Navy bombers took off on a routine training mission and never came back. No wreckage, no survivors, and the rescue plane sent to find them vanished too. This is the mystery of Flight 19. On December 5th, 1945, 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers lifted off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It was supposed to be a simple training mission, a normal flight over the Atlantic, the kind of exercise crews had done many times before. But something went wrong, and by the end of the day, all 5 planes had disappeared. The group became known as Flight 19. The mission began in the afternoon. The weather was considered flyable. The crews were expected to complete navigation exercises and then return to base. Nothing about the launch suggested danger, but once they were in the air, confusing radio messages began to come in. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, reported that his compasses were no longer working properly. He sounded disoriented. At one point, he seemed unsure of his exact location. Instead of knowing where the squadron was, he was trying to figure it out in real time over open water. That uncertainty quickly became deadly. Radio operators on the ground listened as the pilots grew more confused. Taylor reportedly believed they were over the Florida Keys. If that was true, then the squadron should have turned one way. But many believe they may actually have been east of Florida over the Atlantic, meaning the same decision would carry them farther out to sea. In other words, if the lead pilot was mistaken about where he was, every course correction may have made the situation worse. The radio transmissions became increasingly troubling. The pilots were heard discussing the ocean below them. Nothing looked familiar. Landmarks were gone. Fuel was running low. Daylight was fading. One of the most chilling parts of the story is how close the men may have been to survival. Without knowing it, if they had been able to identify their true position, they might have found their way back. But once confusion and bad navigation took hold, the Atlantic became a vast, empty trap. As the hours passed, contact weakened. Then Flight 19 was gone. But the mystery didn't stop there. A PBM Mariner rescue plane with 13 men aboard was sent out to search for them. Soon after takeoff, that plane disappeared too, and just like that, 14 men became 27. 2 vanished flights, 1 day. No survivors were ever found. No confirmed wreckage of Flight 19 was recovered. And although there were reports that the rescue plane may have exploded in mid-air, something PBM mariners were known to risk due to fuel vapor issues, the disappearance of Flight 19 itself remained unresolved. This case would later become one of the most famous stories connected to the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle is a loosely defined region in the Atlantic Ocean, often linked to strange disappearances of ships and aircraft. Over the years, writers and documentary makers turned Flight 19 into one of its most iconic legends. That's when the theories began multiplying. Some said the squadron flew into a time warp. Others claimed alien interference. Some believed magnetic anomalies caused the compasses to fail and sent the planes hopelessly off course. And once the Bermuda Triangle label got attached, the mystery took on a life of its own. But many historians and aviation experts offer a far less supernatural explanation. They believe the disaster likely came down to navigational confusion, human error, fading light, rough sea conditions, and fuel exhaustion. If Taylor truly misidentified his position, the rest of the flight would have followed him into deeper trouble. Once night fell and the planes ran out of fuel, they likely ditched into the ocean. And in rough Atlantic waters, a downed aircraft can disappear fast. That explanation is realistic. It fits what we know about aviation accidents. It doesn't require portals, aliens, or paranormal forces. And yet, the story still haunts people because there is something deeply unsettling about trained military pilots becoming completely lost in the sky, about hearing confusion build over the radio while no one on the ground can stop it, about 5 aircraft vanishing into the ocean, followed by the rescue plane sent to find them. It feels bigger than an accident, colder than a mistake, and the lack of final answers only keeps it alive. We know Flight 19 plane took off. We know its pilots became disoriented. We know the weather and fading daylight worked against them, and we know they never returned. But we still don't know exactly where those planes went down. We still don't know what those crews saw in their final moments. And we still don't know why, after all the years that followed, the Atlantic kept so many of its secrets. 5 bombers, 1 rescue plane, 27 men, all swallowed by the sea. This is Obsidian Archives.
Subscribe for more mysteries.